Didn't know that the man they called the guy who unclogs toilets would one day build us a life my parents' Ivy League degrees never could. The last time I stood in my mother's house, Dr. Marianne Ashford, chief of psychiatry at Richmond Memorial, told me I was clinically delusional for choosing a plumber over my future. My father, Judge Philip Ashford, Third Circuit Court of Appeals, didn't even look up from his scotch. He just said, "You're not an Ashford anymore. Ashfords don't breed down." I was 20 years old, 6 months pregnant, and the plumber was outside in his work van with the heat running because my parents wouldn't let him through the front door. My name is Julian Keegan. Most people call me Jules. I'm 38, and I haven't spoken to my parents in 18 years. This is the story of what happened when they finally came back and why they wished they hadn't. It was Christmas Eve, 2007. My parents hosted their annual dinner at the Ashford House in Windsor Farms, Richmond's old money neighborhood where the driveways are longer than most people's commutes. 14 guests. 14 guests. Every single one had a title: judge, doctor, professor, partner at something. My uncle argued cases before the Virginia Supreme Court. My aunt ran the State Bar Association's ethics committee. The irony of that would hit me later. Cade wasn't invited. He was never invited. My parents knew I was dating someone, but I'd been vague. A guy from work, I'd said, which technically was true. I'd met him when he came to fix a burst pipe in the law office where I was interning. He crawled out from under a sink, grease on his forehead, looked at me and said, "You might want to move your shoes. This is about to get ugly." I moved my shoes. 3 months later, I was pregnant. I'd hidden it through Thanksgiving with loose sweaters and strategic positioning behind furniture. By Christmas Eve, that wasn't working anymore. My mother was a psychiatrist. She read body language for a living. She noticed before I even took off my coat. "Stand up straight, Julianne," she said, and the way she said it, I knew she already knew. She just wanted the room to see. I stood. 14 pairs of eyes, crystal glasses frozen midway to mouths. The Christmas tree behind me had been professionally decorated. White lights, silver ornaments, a theme. Everything in my parents' life had a theme. "How far along?" my father asked from the head of the table. "6 months. The father? His name is Cade Keegan. He's a master plumber. He owns his own business. My uncle, the Supreme Court attorney, actually snorted into his wine. "A plumber, Jules? This is a phase, right? Some kind of rebellion?" My mother didn't find it funny. She'd already opened her laptop. She kept it on the sideboard during dinners for exactly this kind of moment. Control was her love language. "Cade Michael Keegan," she read aloud. "Age 22, G. Licensed master plumber, Commonwealth of Virginia. Father Henry Hank Keegan, former pipe fitter, current whereabouts unknown. Left family in 2001. Mother Sandra Keegan, deceased 2005. Cause of death, complications from type 1 diabetes. No college education in immediate family going back 3 generations." She looked up at me over her reading glasses. "You want to attach the Ashford name to this?" "I want to build a life with him." My father set down his glass. The sound it made on the mahogany was very precise. "Julian, you're going to terminate the pregnancy. I know a colleague at UVA Medical who can handle this quietly. You'll take a semester off, we'll say it was mono, and you'll start Georgetown Law in the fall as planned. I'm 6 months pregnant, Dad. No one is terminating anything. Then you're not our daughter." He said it the way he delivered verdicts. Final. No appeal. My mother gave me 30 minutes. She timed it. I know because she checked her watch twice while I packed. 2 duffel bags. Clothes, my laptop, the framed photo of me and my grandmother who died when I was 12. The Georgetown acceptance letter stayed on my desk. Full scholarship. I'd earned it. They could throw it away themselves. As I came down the stairs, my mother was straightening the hallway photos. She'd already taken down my senior portrait. 14 other family pictures stayed. Just mine came down. "Mom," I said. My voice cracked. I'll never forgive myself for that crack. "Please, I'm carrying your grandchild." She didn't turn around. I don't have a grandchild. I have a reputation, and you just destroyed it. The front door of the Ashford house was solid walnut, custom. My father had it installed after his appointment to the circuit court. He said it projected authority. I pulled it open and walked into December air, 31 degrees, my breath visible, my hands shaking. Kate's van was at the curb. Keegan Plumbing, painted on the side in blue letters he'd done himself. Not straight. He saw me, got out, took the bags, put them behind the seats without asking questions. Then he opened the passenger door. The interior smelled like PVC cement and the pine air freshener he kept clipped to the vent. He was 22, plumber, making $21 an hour, wearing clean jeans and the button-down shirt he'd bought at Target specifically because he thought he might meet my parents that night. I called the courthouse, he said quietly. We can get a license Monday. That's when I broke, not when my father disowned me. When Kate opened the van door and offered me a future he wasn't sure he could afford. We got married January 3rd, 2008 at the Richmond City Courthouse. Thursday afternoon, we needed witnesses and didn't have any. A maintenance worker named Gus, maybe 60, agreed to sign. The second witness was a woman waiting for her parking ticket hearing. Her name was Dottie Flowers. She cried during the ceremony, which lasted 4 minutes. Afterward, she hugged me and whispered, "He looks at you like you're the only person in the room. That's all you need." Kate had bought our rings at a pawn shop on Broad Street. Mine was a thin gold band, $45. His was tungsten, $30. I wrote Julianne Ashford Keegan on the certificate. Kept my maiden name in the middle. A bridge I wasn't ready to burn completely. Our apartment was on the south side of Richmond. 500 square feet, 1 bedroom above a laundromat. The dryer noise came through the floor like a heartbeat. We gave the bedroom to the baby. Kate and I slept on an air mattress in the living room for 14 months until it finally popped and we switched to a futon from Craigslist. Rosalind Catherine Keegan was born April 2nd, 2008. 7 pounds, 1 ounce. I remember the weight because I almost called my mother from the delivery room. Kate saw me holding my phone and gently took it from my hand. She doesn't deserve this moment, he said. He was right. He was usually right about the things that mattered. I tried once. June 12, 2008. 2 months after Rosie was born, I wrote an email at 1 in the morning while she was sleeping. Mom, Dad, Rosie was born April 2nd. She has your eyes, Mom. Kate got promoted to lead plumber at his company. We're in a small apartment, but it's safe and warm. I'm not asking you to forgive me. I'm asking you to forgive me. I'm asking you to meet her. Just once. Please? Jules. The response came at 7:15 a.m. from my father's legal secretary. Judge and Dr. Ashford have asked me to inform you that further contact is unwelcome. Please direct any future correspondence to their attorney, not even from them. From staff. Like I was a case being dismissed. I printed both emails, put them in an envelope, wrote on the front, "For Rosie, when she asks." She asked when she was 9. I told her, some families are smaller than others, but ours has everything it needs. She didn't ask again until she was 16, but I'll get to that. Cade built Keegan Plumbing from his van, literally. 1 van, 1 man, 1 toolbox. He worked 6 to 4 doing residential calls, then picked up side jobs until 9 most nights. Leaking faucets, broken water heaters, sewer line repairs, the jobs nobody wanted. He took every single one. I took paralegal classes online through J. Sergeant Reynolds Community College, $90 a credit. I studied while Rosie napped, took exams at the kitchen table while Cade watched her on the living room floor. Got certified in 14 months. First job, legal assistant at a personal injury firm in Henrico County. $16 an hour. The irony wasn't lost on me. My father was a federal judge. I was typing briefs for ambulance chasers. But I was good at it. Really good. I understood legal language like other people understand English. It was in my blood, just not in my credentials. The housing crash was still eating people alive. Kate found a house in Church Hill, a neighborhood that was half restored Victorians, half boarded up row homes. 1,800 square feet, built 1923. The plumbing was a catastrophe. Galvanized pipes corroded to the width of drinking straws, lead solder joints, a sewer line held together with what looked like duct tape and prayer. The realtor said most buyers walked away after the inspection. Cade walked through with a flashlight and a pipe wrench, checked every joint, every valve, every drain. Plumbing's a disaster, he told me. But I can fix it. How long? 2 months, nights and weekends. We bought it for $112,000. Everyone thought we were crazy. Cade replumbed the entire house in 7 weeks. Copper supply lines, PVC drains, new water heater, new sewer connection. Every night after work, every Saturday and Sunday. Rosie, 2 years old, sat in her playpen in the kitchen watching her dad solder pipe joints. Her first full sentence wasn't, "I love you," it was, "Daddy, waterwork." Close enough. Cade's business grew the way honest businesses grow, slowly through reputation. 1 van became 2. He hired an apprentice, a kid named Tomas, 19, just out of trade school, then another. By 2020, Keegan Plumbing had Cade plus 4 employees, 3 vans, and a small office in a strip mall on Mechanicsville Turnpike. Revenue around $220,000 a year. Not fortune, but stable, clean. His specialty was old homes. Richmond has thousands of them, century-old row houses with plumbing that predated indoor bathrooms. Cade would crawl under houses where other plumbers refused to go. His rule: treat every home like it's yours. Charge fair. Do it right. Meanwhile, I climbed. 2000 cold litigation paralegal at a mid-size firm in Richmond. 2016, senior paralegal, managing document review for a class action lawsuit against a pharmaceutical company, $52,000 a year. Benefits. Retirement matching. 2020, I passed the certified legal assistant exam. By 2024, I was a paralegal supervisor at one of Richmond's top firms. $74,000 a year. I had more practical legal knowledge than half the junior associates, just not the JD after my name. Cade used to joke, "You know more law than your father. You just don't have the robe. The robe's the part that matters to them," I'd say. "The robe's the part that doesn't matter at all," he'd reply. August 2024. Rosie started at Virginia Commonwealth University. Pre-law. Not because I pushed her. Because she chose it. "Why law?" I asked her, half afraid of the answer. "Because you showed me that understanding the system is power, even without a degree from Georgetown. I want the degree so nobody can tell me I don't belong." She paused. "And maybe I want to prove that an Ashford doesn't need the Ashford name to make it in a courtroom." Cade, leaning against the kitchen door frame with a coffee mug. "You've already got more backbone than most lawyers I've met, and I've met some real gems working on their bathroom pipes." September 18th, 2025. Thursday morning. I was at the firm reviewing depositions. Cade was at a job site in the Fan District, replacing a sewer lateral for a young couple who'd just bought their first house. His phone rang at 10:15 a.m. Unknown number. International prefix. He almost didn't answer. He told me later he only picked up because he thought it might be a supplier calling from a Canadian warehouse. It wasn't. "Mr. Keegan? My name is Alistair Drummond. I'm a solicitor with Drummond and Firth in Calgary, Alberta. I represent your father, Henry Keegan." Cade didn't speak for 6 seconds. The homeowner later told me he just stopped mid-wrench, standing in a trench with muddy water up to his shins, staring at nothing. "My father's been gone 24 years, Cade said. "I don't have a father." "I understand, Mr. Keegan, but Mr. Henry Keegan has asked me to contact you regarding a matter of some urgency. May I send you a package? There's documentation that I believe you'll want to review." Cade hung up, called me. "Jules, something happened." He didn't sound angry. He sounded 10 years old. The FedEx package arrived the next morning. Cade waited until I got home to open it. We sat at the kitchen table, The same table where we'd eaten dinner as a family for 15 years. Drummond and Firth, barristers and solicitors, Calgary, Alberta. Rye. Estate of Henry Michael Keegan and request for familial medical assistance. Hank Keegan had left Richmond in 2001 when Cade was 8. Didn't call, didn't write, didn't send money. Kate's mother, Sandra, raised him alone, working as a hotel housekeeper and weekend caterer until her diabetes took her in 2005. Cade was 15. He buried his mother with money from his first plumbing apprenticeship. What we didn't know, Hank had gone to Alberta. Pipeline work. The oil sands boom was hiring anyone who could swing a wrench and survive -40 winters. Hank could do both. He started as a pipe fitter, moved into pipeline inspection, then contracting. By 2015, he owned Keegan Pipeline Services Limited, 38 employees, government contracts for municipal water infrastructure across Western Canada. Net worth at time of the letter, $8.6 million Canadian, roughly $6.3 million US. The letter continued. Hank had been diagnosed with acute myeloid leukemia in March 2025. He'd undergone 2 rounds of chemotherapy. The cancer was in partial remission, but his oncologist recommended an allogeneic stem cell transplant. Bone marrow. The best match would come from a first-degree relative. Hank had no other children, no siblings alive. His only blood family was Cade, and, if Cade had children, them. I flipped to the medical report. I've spent 16 years reading legal documents, medical records included. I can parse a chart faster than most nurses. Patient, Henry Michael Keegan. DLB, November 3, 1971. Age, 53. Diagnosis, AML, M4 subtype. Status, partial remission post-consolidation chemotherapy. Recommended allogeneic hematopoietic stem cell transplant. HLA typing indicates high probability of familial match with first-degree relatives. Canadian Unrelated Donor Registry, no suitable match identified. Estimated wait for unrelated donor, 14 to 24 months. Prognosis without transplant, relapse probable within 6 to 12 months. 5-year survival with matched related donor transplant, 55 to 65%. There is a private investigator's report. Dated June through August 2025. They'd been watching us. Target, Cade Michael Keegan and family. Duration of surveillance, June 20th through August 28th, 2025. Photos. Rosie walking across VCU's campus, August 18th. Backpack, sunglasses. Cade loading pipe into his van, July 9th. Me leaving the office, July 25th, iced coffee in hand. 6 weeks of surveillance. Photos of our daughter taken without our knowledge or consent. I felt sick. Cade's hands were shaking when he saw Rosie's photos. He's been watching her, he said, not angry, something colder, something protective that went down to the bone. The inheritance section was clear. Cade was sole beneficiary. The trust was irrevocable. Whether or not anyone donated, the money would pass to Cade upon Hank's death. But the last page was the real ask. Transplant coordinator's note, Mr. Keegan urgently requests HLA typing of son Cade Keegan, age 39, and granddaughter Rosalind Keegan, age 17. Familial donors represent best probability of survival. He doesn't want to meet us, Cade said quietly. He wants our bone marrow. We told Rosie on September 26th. She was home from VCU for the weekend. Cade laid everything out on the table, the letter, the medical files, the PI photos, all of it. Rosie read the surveillance report first. Her jaw tightened when she saw her own photo. He's been following me, she said. Not a question. For 6 weeks, Cade confirmed, before he ever contacted us. Rosie picked up the medical report. She read it the way she reads everything, slowly, completely, asking questions only when she was done. Allogeneic stem cell transplant, she said. That's not like donating blood. They either harvest from bone marrow directly, which means a needle into the pelvic bone under anesthesia, or they use peripheral blood stem cells, which requires 5 days of growth factor injections and then apheresis, Recovery is 1 to 2 weeks for PPSC, 4 to 6 weeks for marrow harvest. Kate and I looked at each other. She'd been researching since we told her we needed to talk. I looked it up on the drive here, Rosie said, reading our faces. I had a feeling this was medical. What do you want to do? I asked. I want to get tested, not because I'll donate, because I want the facts before I make a decision. That's what you taught me, Mom. Evidence first, emotions second. 18 years old and already sharper than most adults I know, terrified me. Made me proud. October 3rd. VCU Medical Center, Bone Marrow Transplant Unit. Rosie went in alone. Insisted. I sat in the waiting room with a cold coffee. Cade sat next to me, knee bouncing. 20 minutes later, she came out with a cotton ball taped to her arm. Phase 1, she said. HLA typing. Results in a week. October 10th. Rosie called me at lunch. Her voice was steady. Clinical. I'm a 10 out of 10 HLA match, Mom. Perfect match. The coordinator said it's rare, especially across a generation. She called it remarkable. I couldn't speak for a moment. Mom, you there? I'm here. How do you feel? Long pause. I feel like I need to come home this weekend. 2 days later, the Richmond Times-Dispatch ran the story. Someone at the insurance processing level had connected the dots. Keegan. Pipeline fortune. Estranged family. Bone marrow. Headline. Pipeline tycoon seeks bone marrow from granddaughter he never met. It got picked up nationally within 48 hours. Rosie's phone exploded. BCU student newspaper ran a profile. A podcast about medical ethics devoted an entire episode. Rosie deleted her social media, all of it, and went silent. Reddit. If my deadbeat grandpa showed up needing my bone marrow after 24 years, I'd tell him to kick rocks. Reply, but it's bone marrow, not a kidney. It grows back. She'd be fine in 2 weeks. Isn't the ethical thing to help? Reply to reply. The ethical thing is to not abandon your kid and then show up with a medical shopping list. Twitter was a war zone. Medical ethicists debating bodily autonomy versus familial obligation. Conservative commentators calling it a test of Christian forgiveness. Feminist writers pointing out that once again, a young woman's body was public property. October 15th, a Tuesday evening. I was making dinner. Cade was reviewing a bid for a commercial job, his first. Rosie was in her old room. Doorbell. I opened it. My mother stood on the porch. Dr. Marian Ashford, 63 years old but looked 75. Gray roots showing through what used to be perfect auburn. She was thin in a way that wasn't intentional. She was holding a copy of the Times-Dispatch. Julian, she said. Her voice cracked. I saw the article. I didn't move. Can I come in? No, please. I need to talk to you about Rosie. You don't have a granddaughter, I said. Your secretary made that clear 18 years ago. Her face crumpled. Actually crumpled, like paper. I was wrong. We were wrong. Jules, please. Your father, he's had a stroke. Last March. Left side weakness. He's retired from the bench. We're not doing well. The medical bills, the therapy, and then I saw this article and I saw Rosie's picture and she looks just like you and I realized I've missed everything. Everything. Kate appeared behind me, silent. Arms crossed. My mother saw him. Her eyes flickered. Shame, maybe. Or just surprise that the plumber was still here. Mrs. Ashford, Kate said quietly. You should go. I need to talk to my daughter. Your daughter told you to leave. Her voice rose. Desperate. Your father-in-law had a stroke. He can barely walk. The pension covers basics, but the rehabilitation costs. And if Rosie is involved with his Keegan money, people will talk. The legal community will. Our reputation. There it is, I said. The reputation. That's what you came for. No, I came because you saw the words $6 million and suddenly remembered you had a daughter. She started crying. Standing on the porch of the house, Cade replumbed with his own hands, crying in front of the man she'd called a toilet unclogger. Get off my porch, Cade said. Not loud, not angry, just done. She turned to me one last time. If Rosie donates, if your family gets tangled up with the Keegan name, everyone in Richmond will know. The judge's daughter who married the plumber, who took money from… From what? I interrupted. From the man you used as proof that Cade was beneath us? The man whose name you read out loud at Christmas dinner to humiliate me? She had no answer. I closed the door. She stood on the porch for 10 minutes. I could hear her crying through the wood. Finally, she said, loud enough for us to hear, "Your father is deteriorating, Jules. He asks about you. He won't say it, but he asks." I didn't open the door. October 22nd. VCU Medical Center Ethics Committee convened. They'd flagged Rosie's case. Conference room on the 4th floor. 7 members at the table. Reasons for review: donor has no prior relationship with recipient. Financial inheritance creates potential coercion concern. Donor is 18, legally adult but young for this decision. Family estrangement spanning 24 years. Rosie sat in the front row. Kate on her left, me on her right. On the screen via video call from Calgary, Hank Keegan. First time Cade had seen his father in 24 years. Hank looked like Cade would look in 15 years if life had been harder. Gaunt, bald from chemo, IV line in his arm. But the same jaw, the same eyes. Cade stared at the screen. Didn't speak. Hank spoke first. His voice was rough, weak, but he didn't waste words. "I won't pretend I deserve anything from this family. I left my son when he was 8 years old. I left his mother to raise him alone. She died while I was getting rich in Alberta, and I didn't come back for the funeral. There's no excuse for that. There's no explanation that makes it okay." He coughed. Took a breath. "I built a company. Made money. None of it means anything because I wasn't there for the part that mattered. Cade, you became the man I should have been. I know that from the investigator's report, and I'm ashamed that I had to hire a stranger to tell me who my son turned out to be." He looked at the screen, at Rozel, and Rosalind. "You look like your grandmother. Sandra. She would have been so proud of you." Rosie's expression didn't change, but her hand found mine under the table. The ethics committee psychiatrist had already filed her evaluation. She read her summary. Rosalind Keegan demonstrates full cognitive capacity to consent or decline. No evidence of family coercion. When asked about the financial inheritance, she stated, "The money doesn't factor into my decision. If it did, that would tell me I'm not ready to make one." Psychological readiness, Ms. Keegan is appropriately conflicted, which indicates healthy decision-making. The committee chair turned to Rosie. "Ms. Keegan, do you have anything you'd like to say?" Rosie stood. "I got tested because I wanted the facts. I'm a perfect match. That's biology. It doesn't obligate me to anything." She paused, looked at the screen where Hank waited. "Mr. Keegan, you left my father when he was 8. His mother worked herself into the ground and died at 42. My dad buried her with money from his first paycheck as a plumber's apprentice. He was 15. He built everything we have with his hands. You built everything you have by leaving." The room was silent. "I have the power to help you, I understand that. But I'm 18 years old and I'm starting law school applications this year. And I refuse to make the most important medical decision of my life under a spotlight, with cameras outside and Reddit threads debating my body like it's a thought experiment." She took a breath. "So my answer is no. Not because I hate you. I don't know you well enough to hate you. But because my body is mine and I don't owe it to anyone, not to a stranger, not to a grandfather, not to a headline." She sat down. I grabbed her hand, squeezed, whispered, "I'm proud of you." On screen, Hank nodded slowly. His eyes were wet. "Thank you for considering it, Rosalind. That's more grace than I earned." The committee chair stood. "This committee affirms that Rosalind Keegan has made an informed, voluntary decision. Her autonomy is upheld." As we walked out, a reporter approached Rosie in the hallway. "Can I get a quote?" Rosie didn't slow down. "My body, my choice. That's the whole quote." November 2025. Hank's condition worsened. His lawyers kept us updated. Professional. Respectful of our boundaries. December 8th. An email from Drummond and Firth. "Mr. Worth, Keegan has asked us to convey a message to Rosalind. She made the right call. I didn't want her to carry me. I wanted her to carry herself." Cade read it in the garage, his workshop, surrounded by pipe fittings and copper elbows. I found him there an hour later. He'd been crying. First time I'd seen that since his mother's funeral. "He's right," Cade said. "She made the right call. Are you okay?" "I'm not glad he's dying, but I'm glad she chose herself, because that's what I've been trying to teach her since she was born, that she's enough, that she doesn't have to cut herself open to prove she matters." January 29th, 2026. Hank Keegan died in Calgary, age 54. Complications from AML after a failed unrelated donor transplant. The lawyers notified us by email. February 14th, Valentine's Day. An odd day for it, but the trust cleared. $6.3 million US transferred to Cade Michael Keegan. No conditions. No challenges. The trust included a handwritten note, scanned and attached. Shaky handwriting. "This isn't payment. It's the apology I owed your mother. She earned every cent of this by raising you alone. I'm just sorry I'm paying it 20 years too late, Hank." Cade read it twice, folded it, put it in the envelope with the emails I'd saved from my parents 18 years ago. The file labeled, "For Rosie, when she asks." March 2026. We sat at the kitchen table. Cade spread out the financial documents. Same table where Rosie had said no. Same table where I'd cried over my parents' rejection. This table had held everything. "We need to decide," Cade said. "It's your inheritance. It's our family." Our decision. Rosie, home for spring break, nodded. "What do you want to do, Dad?" Cade had already been thinking. Of course he had. "I want to make sure you never have to choose between law school and debt. And I want to help people who got kicked out like your mom did." We made a plan. Education fund for Rosie, $400,000. Law school, living expenses, no loans. Keegan plumbing expansion, $800,000. Hire more plumbers, focus on low-income housing. Fix pipes in old homes where families can't afford safe water. Sliding scale. Nobody gets turned away. A family fund, $1.5 million. Grants for young parents disowned by their families. First month's rent, baby supplies, medical bills, childcare, no strings. Emergency savings, $1 million. Charitable donations, $1.5 million. Split between BCU's Bone Marrow Research Program, foster care legal aid, and a Richmond nonprofit that helps single mothers. Long-term investment, $1.1 million. Rosie's kid someday. Cade's retirement. First grant from the family fund went to a 20-year-old named Kira. Pregnant, disowned by her parents for dropping out of Liberty University to keep the baby. She wrote in her application, "Your family showed me that love doesn't need a pedigree. I want to prove that to my daughter, too." Grant, $12,000. Cade drove to Lynchburg and handed her the check himself. "You don't have to thank me," he said. "Just be the parent you wish you'd had." April 2026, my mother texted, "Jules, your father wants to see you. He's getting worse. Please." I stared at it for a long time. "You had 18 years," I typed. 18 birthdays, 18 Christmases, 18 first days of school. You chose not to be there. Don't use Dad's stroke to guilt me now. I'm trying to make amends. Amends start with an apology, a real one. Not a text message after you saw our name in the paper, next to $6 million. I blocked her number. Rosie asked me later, "Do you think you'll ever talk to them again?" I thought about it. Really thought. I don't know. But I know I don't owe them forgiveness just because they finally realized what they lost. "Fair," Rosie said. Late April. Rosie went back to VCU. Campus life settled. The news cycle moved on. She was just another pre-law freshman again. Her constitutional law professor asked her to guest lecture on bodily autonomy and medical consent. She declined the lecture but wrote an essay instead. Opening line: I said no to my dying grandfather. The internet called me heartless. I call it self-preservation. Both things can be true. She got an A. One night in May, after Rosie was asleep in her dorm, Kate and I sat on the back porch of the house he'd replumbed 17 years ago. The pipes he installed still worked perfectly. Not a single leak. That's Cade, he builds things to last. We did okay, didn't we? He asked. We did better than okay. We built something they couldn't take from us. Rosie's going to be an incredible lawyer. She already is, she just doesn't have the degree yet. Cade took my hand. Plumber's calluses. Warm. People ask me if I have regrets. Here's what I'll say. I regret that my parents couldn't see past their pride. I regret that Hank waited 24 years to apologize. I regret that Rosie had to make a decision no 18-year-old should have to face while the whole country watched. But I don't regret Cade. I don't regret Rosie. I don't regret walking out of that walnut door on Christmas Eve with 2 duffel bags and a baby in my belly. My parents taught me that family is about legacy. Cade taught me that family is about showing up. And Rosie taught me that saying no, even when the whole world has an opinion, is the most powerful thing a woman can do. My name is Jules Keegan. I'm 38 years old. I haven't spoken to my parents in 18 years. I'm at peace with that. We all are.